Hello guys, and thank you for tuning in. So we're going to do a quick video on how to use the soap calculator. So in the search bar, we want to type in SoapCalc.net. That's the soap calculator that we use. And in the top banner, you'll see that the first thing up there says recipe calculator. You'll go ahead and click that. Once you click that, they'll bring you to the calculator. So there's a couple things in this calculator, and let's just go over it quickly. So in box number 1, it's the type of lye. So you have sodium hydroxide, which is the NaOH that's used to make bar soap, and then the potassium hydroxide, the KOH, is used to make liquid soap. All right. So then next we have number 2, which is the weight of oils. So typically you'll use either ounces or grams. And let's just say for this soap recipe, we're going to use 20 ounces. And basically it's the ounces, the weight of the oils. So we're going to use 20 ounces of oils in this recipe. All right, so next is number 3, and it's the water. So the default water as a percentage of oils is 38%. If you're new and starting out, I say we leave it at 38%, and we'll go over water discounting later on. This is for mainly, people who aren't familiar with using the soap calculator, and more than likely they'll be beginners. So we're going to leave it at 38%. Okay, and in box number 4, over here we have superfat. Superfat basically is the extra oils we want left in the soap after the oils and the lye saponifies. So when lye and oil is mixed together, it saponifies and it makes soap. So if the superfat level was at 0%, all of the oils in the soap will be used up by the lye. If we superfat it to 5%, 5% of the oils will be left after the lye uses up the oils. So basically it just makes the soap a little more moisturizing and conditioning. And then next is the fragrance. Typically the fragrance amount is 0.5 to 1 ounce per pound of soap. So it always defaults to the lowest amount, which is 0.5 ounce, but you can increase this to, let's say, 7.75 ounce, which is in the middle, or you can go as high as the 1 ounce per pound of soap. If the fragrance oil that we use is very pungent, we'll go ahead and use 0.5 ounce. But if the fragrance oil is a little bit on the weaker side, then we'll go ahead and use 0.75 or maybe 1 ounce per pound of oil. Okay, so the next section of this calculator is soap qualities. The soap qualities basically tell you how hard the bar is going to be, how cleansing it's going to be, how conditioning it is, how bubbly it is, how creamy it is. Iodine, INS, and then the characteristics, which is the lauric, myristic, palmitic acid. We'll get into that in another video. So basically, if you look to the right of the soap qualities, it says oils, fat, and waxes. So that's where you will choose the oils, fat, and waxes that you want to use in your formula. So on our website and on our Facebook page, we have a basic soap recipe posted. So I'm going to go ahead and use that formula. Sorry, we have that formula and recipe posted, and I'll go ahead and explain what the difference between a formula and a recipe is. But the first oil in that formula is olive oil. So basically you'll hit that drop down menu and you'll go down to olive oil, and then you'll add it. So let's say olive oil, and then you'll scroll over here to number 6, and in that number 1 spot you'll see those plus and minus sign. You hit the plus and it adds the olive oil. The next oil on that list in the formula is coconut oil. So we'll scroll back up to coconut and we'll add that into spot number 2. And the typical coconut oil, the one that's hard and solidifies when it's cool and it melts when it's warmer, is the 76-degree one. So we'll go ahead and select that one and hit that plus sign, and you see it added it to number 2. The next oil or butter in that formula is shea butter. So we'll scroll down to shea butter and we'll add that to spot number 3. And then the last oil is rice bran. And so we'll go to rice bran oil and we'll add that to spot number 4. All right, so this is the oils in the recipe. So next, when you scroll over, is the percentage. So a formula is always in percentage. And the reason why is that it allows you to determine your recipe. Now, your recipe is typically in weight. So if my mold is bigger than your mold, if I give you my recipe, then you will have to try to figure out how to make my recipe fit into your mold. So instead of having to do that, if you have the formula, then you can create the recipe specifically for your mold. So let's say your mold holds 40 ounces of oils. Mine's only hold 20 ounces. So you would put 40 ounces in this spot, and then you would put the percentages in the same section, and over here under ounces is where the recipe will populate, and that will be the recipe for your mold. So let's go ahead and put these percentages in and give you a better visual of what I mean. So for olive oil, our formula is 43.75%. So we're going to do 43.75. And that's the olive oil. For coconut oil, our formula is 31.25%. So we'll go ahead and put that in. For shea butter, our formula is 12.5%. And then for rice bran oil, the formula is 12.5%. So once you get those in, if you look down towards the bottom under number 7, it says calculate recipe. So when you click that button, it should always equals 100%. So if it does not equal 100%, you will get an error message and it will pop up and tell you that you need to make it the formula equal 100%. So now if you look over into the ounce section, it filled that in for me. So I don't have to guess what 43% of 20 ounces is. It's telling me 43.75% of 20 ounces is 8.75. 31.25% of 20 ounces is 6.25. 12.5% of 20 ounces is 2.5 ounces. And then if you look at the bottom underneath, when they total it all up, it should total to 20 ounces, which is the ounces in the ounces of oils in our recipe. All right, so once we get this done, you can look over here to the soap qualities and it'll tell you what the hardness, cleansing, conditioning, bubbly, and creamy is. But just looking at it like this, it's hard to decipher what that means. So to understand it better, you go here and under calculate recipe, you see it says view or print recipe. So you'll go ahead and click that button. And once you click it, now you have your recipe and your formula. And so let's start up top. So if you look up top, it tells you that the total weight of oil, we put 20 ounces in. So we have 20 ounces of oil in this recipe. Our water percentage is 38%. We super fatted at 5%. The lye concentration, they automatically calculate it, and the water to lye ratio, they automatically calculate it. So we don't need to do anything with that. If you look over here, our fragrance ratio that we used was a 0.75 ounces per pound of soap. So our fragrance weight is going to be 0.94 ounce. As I said, we can go all up to 1 ounce per pound of soap. And because of that, I would round that 0.94 ounces to just 1 ounce because I know it will be less than 1 ounce per pound of soap, and it'll make it easy to kind of calculate that. All right, so now let's look at the formula and the recipe. So if you look at this, it shows you your water, your lye, your oils, and your fragrance. So if you move over, this is the recipe part now. So the recipe is telling you you can do it in pounds, ounces, or grams. Since we did ounces, I'm going to stick with the ounces. So our recipe is 7.6 ounces of water, 2.83 ounces of lye. We doing 20 ounces of oils, which we know because we put that amount in, and 0.94 ounces of fragrance. So basically it tells us that our total soap before cure will be 31.37 ounces. So basically that's the oil, the water, the lye, and the fragrance combined will total up to be 31.37 ounces. So that will be the part of the liquid part of our recipe. And then when you go down, you'll see the oil and the fat part of the recipe. Now it's going to show you your formula. So your formula is always in percentages. So your formula is 43.75%, etc., etc. So the recipe is 8.75 ounces, 6.25 ounces, 2.5 ounces, and 2.5 ounces. And so total our recipe is the 7.6, the 2.83, the 20, the 0.94, and then the 20 ounces is broke down underneath as the 8.75, and so on. So now once you get your recipe, this is the part that you want to look at, the soap bar quality. So that is important. And basically that's going to tell you what kind of bar you're going to have. So if you look, the hardness should be between 29 and 54%. And it's showing you that your recipe is at 41%. The cleansing should be between 21 and 22. The cleansing of this recipe is at 21. Conditioning 44 to 69. This recipe is 55. And bubbly 14 to 46. This recipe is at 21. Creaminess is 16 to 48, and this recipe is at 20. So all of these numbers fall within the range, which tells you that this is going to be a nice bar of soap. Now let's say you want a more bubbly soap than 21. You want it at 28. So you will play around with the different oils or the percentage of the oils that you're already using until you get the quality that you're looking for. So that is pretty much how you use the soap calculator. So once you get to this page and you're satisfied, then you can go ahead and type in what you want to name your soap. So we're going to name this the basic soap. And let's say you want to, let's say you put some additives in there. So you can say you put charcoal, and that was you did 1 ounce, and let's say you added oatmeal and you did 1 ounce, so you can put what additives you want in there. And let's say this was a milk soap, so you can put water substituted with milk. And then that's a note that you can have in your recipe. And basically, this is just so when you look at the recipe later on, you know, oh, when I made that soap, I substituted all of my water for milk, and I had charcoal and oatmeal in this soap. So that's what gave me that pretty black or that pretty gray or that pretty blue color. And that oatmeal, that's what made the soap creamy, or the milk made the soap creamy. So those little notes will kind of help you remember what was used, and why your soap turned out the way that it did. So basically, this is just a quick overview of the soap calculator for those who aren't familiar with it. Hopefully this helped you understand how to use it, the difference between a formula and a recipe, why formula should be given and not a recipe, because everybody's mold size is not the same, and a formula helps you figure out the recipe for your mold size without you having to, physically calculate it yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and we will try to answer the questions as best as we can. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and hopefully we have more to come real soon. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.